Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Yeah.
You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Orange and blue till Mets do us part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City Field gritty till Mets do us part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple till Mets do us part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show till Mets do us part. John from Brooklyn, Ibby reps NJ. With the other team, I don't care what your friends say. Mets fans, we focus like a sensei. Listen to the podcast Monday, Wednesday. Made a couple bad plays, but we still won. Character, yup, we're gonna build some. Are you gonna check the pod? Is real fun. Just like Mookie, I will, son. So invest with your heart. Orange and blue till Mets do us part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City Field gritty till Mets do us part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple till Mets do us part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show.
Available now on all streaming platforms. If you love the New York Mets, check out Till Mets Do Us Part. Enough rapping. Let's get to yapping.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Til Mets Do Us Part. We are live on YouTube, live on Twitter, live on Substack, like we are each and every single week. John Saponaro out in North Hollywood, California, where the weather is remarkably different from what my co-host on the other side of the country is experiencing right now. And for the last couple days, I don't say that to rub it in. I just say it because, well, one, it's true. And at least we have modern technology that allows us to communicate not only with each other, but with all of the folks that are going to be here in the live stream coming up over the next hour or so of Mets Talk. So, Ibby, I don't mean to throw you under the bus. I don't want to put down the Northeast weather. I don't want to do anything like that. But I do want to ask you, and I know there's a lot behind this question. How you feeling?
I'm freezing, John. I'm waking up at 7 degrees in the morning. My back is in shambles after all the snow that I had to shovel this past weekend. All for it to possibly dump another 12 inches on us this weekend if the weather holds like they say it's going to. So it's not that fun on the on the East Coast right now. Still the better coast. I don't care what anybody says. Still the better coast.
I don't know, man.
I
don't know.
I will keep saying it to stick. We all know we always commit to the bit on this show, so I have to commit to the bit. But all in all, I'm doing okay. Excited to be back for another episode. I did hop on for a quick minute with the Peralta news on Walk Off Whiskey on Friday, but pumped up to talk about all things Mets and the week that was. What lies ahead potentially, or if this team is ready to go into spring as is. But there's a lot to get into. The red light's on. It's Wednesday. Let's have some fun.
Carson checking in saying temperature for John dropped all the way down to 68 degrees and he's still fighting through it. Hashtag our hero. Jeff Cohen saying John, karma is a bitch. LOL. I don't know what kind of karma. It ain't gonna snow 12 inches over here anytime soon. So I'm gonna talk my shit. As far as the other folks in the comments go, we got Darren Rivera is here. I already mentioned Jeff Cohen. Armand is amazing is here. KP Clink, Ethan KL. Who else do we have? I saw Lazy Mary. Yep, there goes Lazy Mary. Brad, of course, Lazy Mary defending champion. I think 2 or 3 weeks in a row of our crown comments. So we'll see what Lazy has in store. Brad saying breaking news: the Mets have traded Ibby's Wi-Fi for a player to be named later.
Dagger to my heart, but it's a good one. That's a good one.
I'm gonna keep that one starred for a bit. Who else is here? Chrissy is in the house saying, John, I like the hat. Thank you very much. I like this hat too. But I appreciate it. Jeff Cohen also saying, John with a Mets cap. Yes, I usually switch it up. Ibby tends to be the one on this show that always has some kind of Mets gear on, whether it's a shirt or a cap or whatever. And I have the tendency to switch it up, probably just because I have a lot of, well, you have a lot of hats too, but I don't know. I don't have as many like just Mets hats as I used to. So, you know, some of them just got old, some of them got worn out, whatever. So I think I, in the interest of just switching it up, the vibe, switching up the look and all that stuff, I just tend to wear some stuff that's not Mets every once in a while, but doesn't mean that I don't want to, doesn't mean that I don't have it in spades. Mike Laverty is here. Keith Diaz is here as well. Chris Scopo and Odd Villain and Rosie K rounding out the group to start the show. 74 eyes on us. I'm sure that will continue to grow. Keith saying my two favorite white boys, man.
Checking in.
Yeah, I think each one of us, I mean, Keith could let us know, but I think each one of us probably jumped up in the rankings now that Brandon Nimmo is no longer a Met. Because that was Keith's rally cry every time Brandon Nimmo had like a big time hit or something like that. So yeah. We got Tyler saying, wow, John hates the Mets, confirmed. Yep, that's how it goes. Rosie, early nomination for the safe Eric Chavez. That's early.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
On target, I think, for some of us. Will White is here as well. Shout out Will White. Chris Scopo might not show here, but at least God doesn't try to burn all of us like you guys. Jesus. Wow. Okay. What a way to start off the show. So Ibby, there's a lot of ways we can go with this conversation.
Yeah.
We did touch on some of it when you jumped on Walk Off Whiskey, which, was kind of me giving my recap of all the things that happened, culminating with Freddy Peralta, middle of last week. And, thankfully you were able to get on here and also give, a brief summary of your thoughts as far as just that specific deal is concerned. Folks can go back and listen. It's available on audio. It's available on video. If you follow the show, you could find it. And you can kind of get our instant-ish reactions to what happened. So I think the best thing to do here, rather than, repeat ourselves on some of this stuff, is to really just take an overarching view, not only here as we start, but also for the entirety of this episode, because everything now is going to be so different from what we said even on our show a week ago, where it was the Mets moves have all been, here's a move, what's the next one? Here's move, whether it was an addition or a subtraction. What's the next thing going to be? What else do they have to do? Now it seems like the vision is fully clear. Whether or not they make another small or small-ish move, it seems like this is kind of the roster that they're going to start the season with, at least on the upper tier. So I think now the best thing to do is reflect on this offseason as we're a couple weeks away from pitchers and catchers, and then get into what we think might be next. So now that you've had a week to digest this stuff, where are you with not just the Peralta signing, but the way that David Stearns and the Mets were able to navigate this offseason and come away with what I think, spoiler alert, is going to be a pretty damn good team?
The word that just keeps on popping up into my head for everything at this point, now that we finally see what this team is going to look like in totality, is excited. I can't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and you were actually, I think it was Friday or 2 weeks ago. You were mentioning how you just wanted some change. It's okay to accept change. It's wanting something different. And getting to the point where you saw something for so long, it's just like, it's just time. And it's okay. Like, if you have the feelings of what the team used to be and what used to be here, now it's gone. You can have those feelings or what have you. But when I see everything that's come in and how I can picture this lineup working and the overall construction of a 1 through 9, what the starting rotation can be, what the bullpen might be, like, I'm excited. It's new pieces approach really to this team. And it's something where we talked about a lot last year during the season, how the team was so top heavy. Now I look at the lineup and I see something that is a lot more of a fun watch. I'll put it that way. 1 through 9, where guys are going to have better at bats. They're going to battle, and it's not putting so much on the top half like we were last year, where it's like, if we did not do damage 1 through 4, this team wasn't going to do anything. And then 1 through 4 would always slump together, which means this team did not hit for 2 weeks, which gave us some really, really, really boring baseball. And I don't think that's the case this year. And I think that, with the numbers that these guys have against lefties, the number they have with runners in scoring position, I think we're going to see a much more contact-oriented team with some power sprinkled in. it's a non-traditional approach when it comes to, say, a cleanup hitter, at least in my eyes right now, in terms of what the lineup could shake out to be, whether you're seeing a Semien or a Polanco or someone like that batting 4. Not ideal in terms of like the prototypical cleanup, but I think the approach here is more so we're not banking on a guy to smash a 3-run homer every single time. We're looking to, put the quarter in the merry-go-round and keep things going and just pass it on to the next guy, and have these tough at-bats. But all in all, like, I'm excited. And I know it's been a roller coaster of an offseason for some more so than others. We've been a calming factor within the space when it comes to stuff like this.
We've tried.
We've tried.
We've succeeded.
We've tried to be a calming factor for people, but for me, it's nice to finally say that we're not waiting for the next move. Yes, like you said, we'll talk about the smaller things that could potentially still happen, but it's not so much looking for what's next, or we have to wait, or there's like, this is like something still has to fall in order for this to make sense. We're at that point now, and I see it, and I like it, and I'm excited about Freddy Peralta. I'll get more into him in a moment, but I'll pass it over to you because all in all, like, I'm pumped up, man. I can't wait for pitchers and catchers. Now, obviously, I can't wait for spring training to roll around too.
Yeah, look, I think what you said about my comments from last week, one of our shows, whatever, about just wanting something different, that's where I've been this whole time. And that's why it's been okay, or I've been okay, rather, with embracing the change. I'm not, despite what people may think about some of the stuff that we clip from this show, or, the way I say things in short form, in text form on Twitter, like, I'm not telling people that change is easy. I don't think that it is. I think some people deal with change a little bit better, just in every aspect of life, and some people have a harder time with it. But I think we can all agree, just as human beings, that change is difficult. And when you have something that you are used to and that you are accustomed to, and something that isn't necessarily bad, where the sum of the parts aren't bad, aren't the problem, you like those things. Like, we all look at the Mets team from last year and we say, man, again, another year where something was amiss. Another year where we've become the laughing stock of baseball, because it used to be because of how inept we were just all the way around. Now it's like, well, they get Juan Soto, they can't even win. Oh, man, they got Steve Cohen, they can't even win. They get David Stearns, they can't even win. People are always going to find an avenue to find the joke and make it LOL Mets until the narrative fully changes, until there is sustained winning, until there is a World Series, or dare I say a few, whatever. People are always going to find that. And I know that it is, again, it's difficult to address the change. It's difficult to deal with the change when you look underneath the bad team and you say, well, Pete Alonso was great. Brandon Nimmo was great. And Lindor and Juan Soto, they all did their thing. And hell, even Jeff McNeil, he rebounded to contribute. Look at this. Like, these guys, they can do it. I believe they could do it. It's easy to do that because that's what we've had as Mets fans. In the good years and in the bad years, and there's been more bad than good, no matter how far back you go. I don't care if your fandom started in, the 90s like mine did, or if it goes all the way back to 1962. It doesn't matter. We've all seen, as Mets fans, more bad than we've seen good. And so we attach ourselves to the good things. We romanticize these players, and some fairly, some unfairly, some accurately, some inaccurately, whatever. We all like the things we like about baseball. We all have weird attachments to players that we probably should never have attachments to. Like, I've mentioned it on this show a million times to you, that for some reason I always thought when I was younger, Desi Relaford was the truth. Desi Relaford, like, if I met Desi Relaford right now, I wouldn't even know who he was. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, we have these attachments, and I get it, but don't you want to go and grow beyond the lovable loser? Don't you want something else? Don't you want to see something different in what we have done and what we have seen and what we have lived through in our fandom? And that's what we're seeing here. And it might work and it might not work. And the last thing I'll say about it is for the people, and I said a little bit of this on Walk Off Whiskey, but I think it bears repeating. There were a lot of people in my mentions that after I gloated about being right about David Stearns and the Mets having a plan and the Mets building a team, that we were all going to say like, wow, look, I think there was something going on this whole time. A lot of people were like, well, I wait for results. I judge results. No, you don't. Because you judged David Stearns all November and then all December. And then you hated him during the winter meetings, and you thought he was inept, and you said his smile was weird, and you thought that the way he laughs is stupid, and you thought his jeans were too tight, and you thought that he was better than everybody else. Like, too much. It's too much.
I didn't hear that one. His jeans were too tight.
Somebody there was a guy in my mentions talking about David Stearns' skinny jeans. And I was like, I've never even seen the guy below the waist. Every time I see the guy, he's sitting at a desk. I don't know how you know what his jeans look like, but whatever.
Oh my God.
But the point of the matter is this. It's like, now they want to flip the narrative and they want to say, I'm going to wait for the results. That's true every year, Ibby, right? Like every year, like baseball teams are good or they're bad, or there's something in between. Good teams turn into bad teams. Teams that were expected to not do anything go on a run. Teams that were expected to be great have a bunch of injuries. Like we all have to wait for the results, but I don't want to hear this thing of like, well, no, I wait for the results. No, you don't. So it's been an up and down off season for a lot of people. Like you said, it's been a roller coaster of emotions. Even if you were like me and Ibby and a few other folks that were steadfast and like, let's just wait and see where this goes. There's been a lot of ebbs and flows. And I am so happy that we are through the thick of it and we can start to take shape at what is, or start to look at what is a good baseball team taking shape. And that's all you could ever ask for as a fan, is for your front office and your owner and whatever else to care enough to put a good team, a representative team on the field.
I think everything you said there is spot on. It goes with everything I said as well. And I just think that, I had said, I prefaced at the start of the offseason that people were going to have a hard time with everything because I'd been saying that change was going to come. And I didn't think that Pete was coming back and people were going to struggle with that waiting period until they see everything, which it was a lot worse than I thought it was going to be. The pitchforks were out very much so. And for some people, they're still out, which is why I had a feeling of what the chat would feel like with us. But if I put this out to the actual, Twitterverse, I'm very curious on the results that we would get. But I did just post a poll on the YouTube side. If you haven't voted yet, make sure that you do. 22 have voted so far. What grade would you give David Stearns this offseason? And you only get 4 choices. So I went pretty standard. I went A, B, C, or I put failure by Sleepy Stearns. And right now it's leading with a B at 45%. We'll see how those results go out throughout the show. Make sure you vote just so we can see an idea of where the chat is checking in. But all in all, like, it's about getting better. It's about realizing when you make mistakes. It's about understanding you tried something and it didn't work. And I had said last year that, I was going to be very careful when it came to grading Stearns and certain things. But I also said verbatim, I said, I want to see this man fail and then be able to pivot and understand those failures to try and better himself. And I think he's done that. And he's shown that, look, things didn't work. We're trying something different. We're trying a new approach because that failed for X amount of years. It's time to try something new. We needed a stopper last year. We need a stabilizer for this rotation. Should I have probably called up Nolan McLean sooner? Probably. Could that have been the difference? Yes, but you could also say if Shomani or Kodai Senga makes one good start, that's all the difference as well. But then you go out there and you get a Freddy Peralta. You give up, 2 of your top prospects in order to get it done, even though it might be a 1-year rental potentially. But you go out there and you're being aggressive and doing the things that people said that you didn't have the balls to do or you didn't have the guts to do because you've been so, anti giving up anybody. You're holding on to everything. You're hoarding prospects and blah, 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 blah. But he goes out there and does all those things. So I have a lot more I want to get into, but I'm probably going to save that for second half of the show because it might have to go with my thoughts on the safe. Okay. But there's a lot of things that can still be undressed by some people that spoke on things this past week. And obviously we saw a lot come out when it came to the overall plan that people said did not exist for this team, but always exists through Joel Sherman's piece talking about plans A, B, C, and D for this team. So we can get into that at some point too. But I have some thoughts on that one. But all in all, it's a strong off season. I'm very excited, and I can't wait to see it all unfold.
Can I just take a sidebar for a second here?
Go ahead.
I've never been the biggest Joel Sherman guy. To me, he fits, maybe I don't want to lump him in with like the worst of the writers, but to me, he's closer to that category than the people that I would follow and would have on this show and would listen to. But the 2 podcast appearances that he's made in the last like day and a half, I was like, damn, like, first of all, what he said about the Yankee fans or the naysayer fans towards the Yankees
was off. Was way off.
I mean, he went in though when he was
he did, which I understand what he was trying to do there.
Sure,
but I think it was misplaced in terms of where the true anger from Yankees fans really lies.
Yeah, I think so, but I respect the fact that he came out swinging, just like calling people dumb, and we're like, what the fuck do you want? Like, to me, that was just like, I could not believe that he said those things, and I respect it that someone in his position would so just unapologetically say that. Look,
he also. Yeah, but and again, a quick sidebar also with that, like on the Mets side, because when he was on Foul Territory, talking about things, I don't know if it was at the awards dinner or whatever it was, but I saw the clip, and it's like, and someone responded perfectly. Like he was saying how, like he was defending the Mets and defending Stearns and Cohen because they've always had a plan, and he was basically saying people that are like, this is the cleaner version. People that think that they weren't concerned about making this team better are basically idiots. But at the same time, like the perfect response, I can't remember who said it. The perfect response was, you were part of this. You work for a paper that was spinning these false narratives about this team. And odds are you were probably the source to Mike Puma, who was writing all the nonsense as well. So it's like, I understand, like, it's great to see you saying the right things now, but you were also part of this issue. It kind of like reminds me of the Eric Andre meme where he's like, where he shoots himself, like that, like that whole thing, like that one is like, why would you do this? It's like, well, you did this. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's where I'm kind of iffy on Joel Sherman over the last, handful of hours.
I want to jump into the comments, get into some that are timely and some that I just want to bring up before we move on to other stuff. Keith saying the beard is back, by the way. I already feel whole again. Hashtag beard bros. Carson, the snow was so brutal that it covered the entire height of Jet Williams on his way to Milwaukee.
we lay Jet Williams' name to rest because he's no longer here, so there's no reason to talk about him anymore. So Godspeed, Jet Williams. Godspeed.
Carson saying 8 dogs and Beatty, which is the assembly of the Mets starting 9, according to Carson. Brad saying the fact that they wanted Schwarber over Alonso speaks volumes again. We'll touch on that in a second when we talk more about this Joel Sherman article. Keep saying, I'm a piss off John. Let's sign IKF. I think a player like that does make sense, especially with the versatility to be able to play some outfield and play some infield. And
am I out of place? Am I out of place if I said that I think IKF fits this bench better than Mark Vientos? Am I off base when I say that?
No, I think this is true. I think IKF or a player like IKF, Austin Hayes, Miguel Andujar, whatever, they fit the bench better than Mark Vientos. Mark Vientos, to me, to have the most value to the Mets, needs to play almost every day, either at DH or at first base, one of those two places. Because to me, when you look at the roster, outside of Juan Soto, who's the most likely person to hit the most home runs? It's probably Mark Vientos, right? Like,
Yeah.
Bichette's not a big home run guy. I think it'll tick up. I'm sure he's going to hit over 20. You know, Lindor, you can kind of bank on his high 20s to low 30s. I know he had that one crazy year, I think in the juice ball era, where he hit like 37 or 38. Same for Robert. You know, listen, if Luis Robert ever hits over 30 home runs, the Mets are going to have the best offense in baseball. But when you look around, the guy who's got the track record and the power and hits the ball hard enough and has all the peripherals where you say, who's going to hit 35 home runs besides Juan Soto? It's Vientos. So to me, I think you're right. I don't think Vientos fits the bench because as a man with really no position or maybe one position, which is first base, he's got to be productive enough to play damn near every day. And that doesn't make him a bench piece. So I think you're right. I think you're spot on about it.
And this is the big thing. And Scopo coming in with this one saying he's a guy who needs consistency. And that's the whole thing. If you're going to sit there and say, no, look, things are always ever changing and people get hot and people get, more playing time because, you have to allow things to actually happen. You can't just say these things because, you got to go out there and play the games. But I just think that when that is said to me, like DH is going to be used as a rotational piece, like, I don't see Mark Vientos touching a glove this year. And if he does, like, I'm going to be pissed off because in my opinion, he should not be in the field. But if he's not DHing, like, what purpose does he serve? And the big thing for me is I don't want to see the boo-boo face when he's not playing. And then he's asked to pinch hit in the 7th to come off the bench cold in a big spot. Like that's kind of, and if you're not going to offer anything else in terms of being able to play in the field, offering that versatility, like that's why I'm legit still shocked that this guy is on the team because I thought he would be gone because of said lack of versatility. But maybe he's still here because of the power that you just mentioned, John. But I also thought that by the added righties to this lineup between Bichette and Robert, I thought that was like the end of Vientos. But it's January 28th, and yet he is still here.
Yeah, and I think Game for War is right. I think that's why you keep Vientos and Polanco platooning DH and first base. I don't know if the only thing that I would say that I disagree with in that situation is the word platooning. Just because I think Vientos and Polanco are sort of insurance, and to a lesser extent Beatty, now that Bichette is here for at least one season, these guys are all insurance policies for each other. The Mets don't have this singular, let's plug this guy in at first base. And I saw Game for War's comment from earlier saying this Mets team would be better with Pete Alonso at first base than it would be with Polanco. And there's no way to argue that. And I do agree with that sentiment, right? Like, I think offensively, if you had Pete Alonso in the middle of the lineup and not Jorge Polanco, and you had Pete Alonso at first base, despite his deficiencies, at least you have this known quantity on both sides of the ball with all of his positives and all of his negatives. I do understand where you're coming from, Game, but I think when you look at Vientos, Polanco, and Beatty, I think they all have a role on this team, but they all have to, and this is the most obvious sentiment you could ever say, they all have to hold up their end of the bargain, right? I think for Polanco, it's different. I think Polanco will hit. Polanco's a major league hitter. He's a ball player. He's going to hit. I think he'll be fine at first base, but maybe he's not. Maybe that's the side of the bargain that he has a hard time holding up. For the other two guys, Beatty and Vientos, I don't know that they're going to hit. And they have to hit in order to be a part of this team on a near everyday basis. The problem is, Ibby, if Vientos doesn't hit, he has no spot. Because Beatty can be your super utility guy. Beatty can, if he doesn't hit, be a bench player. Polanco, if he doesn't field, can be your DH. There is no role for Vientos unless he hits. So right now, with a guy who has a lot of team control left, but no options in Mark Vientos, I'm okay with the Mets keeping him around and just seeing if he is the guy from 2 years ago, or if he's the guy that he's been for the rest of his major league career. And if he's the guy that he's been for the rest of his major league career, then no options doesn't matter because you could DFA that guy. Right. But you don't want to lose that guy and have him be the guy who hit 27 home runs in 111 games or whatever he did 2 years ago, and then hit another 5 in the playoffs when the moments were as big as any.
Yeah, and I think that I just started the comment. I think it was Lazy saying how, Vientos is probably also still here because nobody actually wanted him in a trade if he was shopped. And that's also part of it too. Like that, and that goes hand in hand with everyone who was screaming about the likes of Kodai Senga too. Like, why is this guy still here? Like, am I shocked he's still here? Yes, but I also think that nobody wanted the guy. And that's truly why he's still here. They were offered things that were just nowhere near what was deemed, acceptable. They'll just roll the dice and see if he can actually bounce back, which could be what's happening here with Vientos. Roll the dice and see if he can find some consistency and just, you say that the DH is going to be rotational, but in essence, it's really a tryout for him to push himself to try and take hold and stake claim to that job. Because if that's not there and he's not that thing where he can be the consistent DH, like you just said, Joe, like I would not be shocked if then he's just all out axed because it's just not working if he doesn't take it and run with it because he doesn't offer anything else. So I'm very curious about how he starts the year and how he's deployed, if you will, to start, because I think it's going to tell a story about how they feel about him overall.
I think I don't want people to get hung up on the wrong stuff here. M Easy saying platooning Beatty and Vientos didn't work. I would move one of them. I just don't think the Mets are in a spot right now where the roster that they've assembled to start the season, I don't think moving one of them for the sake of moving them is the right thing, Ibby. That's what I'll say. Where
no, it's still got to make sense.
I will move either one of them for a piece that helps this team. I know they were like, just as a for instance, I know he's already here and it doesn't matter anymore because the trade's done, but there was a contingent of people, and shout out Brian Finkelstein, who said this a lot on Locked On Mets. He was saying he wouldn't have traded Mark Vientos for Luis Robert straight up because of the control of Mark Vientos and the cost of Luis Robert. And I do understand that sentiment. I would have traded Mark Vientos for Luis Robert, because I like Mark Vientos. I have faith in his ability to hit for power, but I don't think if they wanted him straight up, that wouldn't have been an automatic, oh my God, deal breaker for me. I'm happier with the deal that they made with Luis Angel Acuna, who was truly spare parts on this team, but I would have moved Vientos in a deal. I would still move him in a deal. I would still move Beatty in a deal. I don't have a lot of faith in Brett Beatty as an everyday player. But I don't think just moving them, because last year the platoon of those two guys at third didn't work, because it is a different situation now, Ibby. I don't like Jeff McNeil. You thought Jeff McNeil's time on this team was over. But now that you don't have him and you've traded Jet Williams and you've traded Luis Angel Acuna, even Brett Beatty has a role, especially if he can play left field and play first base. This guy has a role on this team. When you trade Pete Alonso, you open up a role. No matter how many right-handed hitters you bring in, you open up a role for Mark Vientos. Because again, I can envision a world very easily where Mark Vientos hits 25 home runs or more. I think if he just plays not every day, but you know what I mean. If he gets 500 at bats, I think he's going to hit 25 home runs. I don't know what the other numbers are going to look like, but he's going to hit the home runs. He hits the ball hard. He hits the ball far. He's going to do it by accident. So this idea of we have to move on from one or both because it didn't work last year. Now that the team is assembled, as much as I have faith in Vientos and I don't have faith in Beatty, I think it's a short-sighted move to just say, get rid of them just cause.
No, I think if you're getting rid of someone, and in my opinion, it would be Vientos in that case. If you're talking about those two, it has to make sense. Like I was always saying, like, if you're moving Vientos, I could see it for like a decent bullpen piece. Like I thought that was something that could be, the move. But when they make a deal and they bring over Tobias Myers, like I don't think that that's really in the cards. But as always, like you take the things that David Stern says now and you kind of realize that he's kind of been playing the game this offseason, as you always have to, about, being careful with what he says and saying, oh, so-and-so is going to be here and then so-and-so is gone within the next week or so, 2 weeks or a month later, that person's gone. So anything and everything is possible. I know that, Will Salmon's article came out before a couple days ago saying how, he feels that this team is pretty much set, which I believe it is too. I think it's pretty much set for the most part. But if something does come along that makes sense, I wouldn't be shocked if they if they go about attacking, if it makes his team better. But again, it has to make sense. So when someone says Mark Vientos, I'm like, okay, like, what are you moving him for? Like a solid bullpen piece? Like, okay, David Peterson. Like, okay, if you're moving David Peterson, then you better be bringing something that's really going to help the major league club right now, because that's the only way that I move that person, because that's the only way that it makes sense. So if you're going to move, if you're moving someone now, especially off of the major league roster, it has to make sense, because those players at this moment are looked at as someone that is going to help in the 26th season. So if you're moving off of them, you better be bringing somebody back that can actually help now.
Yeah, we'll jump back into the comments here. GSD over on Twitter says, is Mauricio on the opening day roster this year? I don't think so. I don't see there being a scenario.
Plus, he has the option.
Yeah, he has an option. The Mets preserved his option over Luis Angel Acuna when they could have done the opposite this past season. So I think that told you a lot. I think this is a guy who hasn't played a lot of baseball because of the injuries and then because of some of the ineffectiveness at the major league level. And just, I think he needs to play. And Ibby, none of this stuff exists in a vacuum. Once again, Jet Williams is gone. Luis Angel Acuna is gone. Ronnie Mauricio needs to play somewhere in AAA every day. Third base, shortstop again, second base. I don't know. He's going to maybe be around the infield a bit, but he's going to be a guy, and he should be a guy for his own development, for his own career, but also to benefit the Mets if he starts the year in the minors. I do agree with MEZBX, and these are kind of, these last two comments kind of play off of each other. Go sign an Austin Hayes type for left field instead of experimenting with Beatty in left field. I think you're doing both, Ibby. I think you need to allow Beatty to learn to play left field, or to show that he can, because he did it for 30 some odd games in the minors. I think you want to give him the opportunity to get at bats in left and just add to his ability to play around the diamond. I think you want to keep that lane open for Carson Benj to make the team out of camp. But I also think, and this is another reason why Ronnie Mauricio won't be on the opening day roster, I think that final bench spot has to go to a player who is preferably right-handed, who can definitely play the outfield. And Austin Hayes makes a ton of sense. The longer he stays out there, I know we joked about it on this show about how that can't be the move, but we always said it could be the last move. I said on the show, Austin Hayes is a guy you should sign in February. We're fucking knocking on the door, January 28th.
Yeah,
I would sign Austin Hayes to a one-year deal anytime between now and the start of the season if I could. And I think the perfect player to do it. I really do. I know this team doesn't need more right-handed hitters, but this team could use a right-handed hitting complement / fallback plan for Beatty not hitting and Carson Benj not hitting.
I think that's fair. I do think that they are. We'll see how it, like, depending on how long people are still out there, or people that don't go, people that go unsigned. I think they're really going to give Beatty some runway for left. I think that's what they want to do. I think they believe in him to do this, but I also think that they truly plan on Carson Benj, and I've been saying it for a while. Like, I think that they want him to take this job and run with it. And I think that when you have the pieces that you do, throughout this lineup, he can come in and he can integrate right at the bottom of the lineup. This isn't the guy that's gonna have to come in and bat third, fourth, or fifth, and the world's expected of him to carry the team and be a save. Like, no, he can come in legit and bat eighth or ninth in this lineup, like, easily. And I think that that's a good way to integrate. And if he runs with it this spring, I think he does make it. But I also feel that they're really going to give Beatty an opportunity to show himself in left, to be adequate enough to handle the corner, which I think he can. I think he can handle it, but we'll see. And if things don't go as planned throughout the spring and guys are still hanging around out there, they'll make a signing and they'll pivot for sure.
A couple more comments here. This one from before. I do love that Lazy Mary had this poll. Jolly Olive didn't even know who Desi Relaford was. That was
the one. That was the 1% of Mets fans' question that he could not answer. The 1%. Yeah.
I know what I said before. I said if Desi Relaford walked in right now, I wouldn't know who he was, because I haven't seen Desi Relaford in 20 years, right? Like, I haven't seen but the picture of Desi Relaford in uniform, when I was watching that video, I was like, holy shit, that's Desi Relaford. I knew immediately. I was like, that's him. We got Papa Swings Things saying first time, long time boys. Love the new look of the roster. I think Mendy has to establish a true clubhouse culture for success, detached from 24 and less callous to the failure like 25. Thoughts? I think that's the game. I think you have to be, and I think that's why a lot of these players, people, and personalities, for different reasons, but the ones that fit into that mold, I think there's a lot of reasons why they're not here anymore. Some of them were for the player side. Some of it was for the people side. Some of it was for the personality side, right? Like, I think when you look at Brandon Nimmo, I think the Mets realize Brandon Nimmo will probably have a more productive offensive season than Marcus Semien. He's probably going to be somewhere around, you would hope, what Jorge Polanco is able to give you offensively. And for 2026, that would have been great. But for 2027, 2028, 2029, like, we start to look at the rest of that deal and where he was going physically and how he was trending. You needed to get that player. You needed to get that contract off the books. It wasn't about like, oh man, we're so tired of this dude. I think it was, we need to get out from under this a year early rather than a year late. And he's coming off of a good offensive season, and we could flip that. But if we wait another year, maybe we can't. And then what? Then we're hamstrung. Then we're stuck. So I think you have to get away from the vibes that happened positive in 2024, because that was such a tiny moment in a bottle that was great, but you can't recapture that. That was a separate thing that happened. A lot of things had to culminate to get you to 2024, to get you to that run. You can't expect to repeat Grimace and OMG and Iglesias and the impact that, Iglesias had on and off the field. And also JD Martinez, even though he wasn't a big contributor on the field, the in the clubhouse stuff, you can't bottle that. You can't do that again. And then you have to move on from the bad vibes of 25, but also the bad vibes of 23 and the way things ended in 22 and the way things ended in 21 and in 20 and in 19.
I think that, you just attacked what the same thing I was going to say. And that's like, this team has been opting to try and run things back since 22, essentially. 22 goes the way it does, out with the whimper round 1. They try to run it back with different names for 23, nightmare, never gets off the ground. 24, lightning in a bottle, try to run it back in 25, fails miserably. Like, you can't do that, which is why, the facelift was definitely needed. And look, I know some other things were said in those articles too about, about those players that are no longer here and the ideas as to why, people are trying to paint their own pictures of, the not supporting each other, very corporate-like things. I know that was a big thing for Mendy and his spot for the interview. And, would it shock me if certain players that are no longer here were a little bit more focused on what they were doing and just assuming that others would follow suit? And when stuff like that happens and you're not picking each other up and you become more like, well, I'm doing my job, like, everything's going to find itself then because I'm doing my job. Like, everyone's just got to do their job. Like, when you kind of get that way, it kind of takes away the element of team and what the clubhouse is supposed to be. So could that have been an issue? Yeah, potentially. But again, there's been an exodus from this clubhouse across these last handful of seasons. And now it's time to do something new, which is essentially what we're getting in 26.
Yeah, I think you sometimes need the I've said this before in a different context. I think every clubhouse, every locker room, needs a mixture of guys in terms of personality and what they are trying to accomplish in like a leadership role or even a perceived leadership role. Like, I think that sometimes you do need a guy that's like, hey, I'm going to do my business, you do yours. But then you need other people that are going to pull people together, because not everybody responds to the singular type of leadership, right? Not everybody responds to, I do me, you do you. Like, okay, but I need like, I need advice. It's like, I don't do advice. Right. But you're player X. You're the guy we all look up to. And it's like, yeah, well, I don't do that. You need the different kinds of vibes. And I think if you only could have one, though, I think the stuff that pulls people together rather than putting everybody out on an island is the better one to have if you're only going to have one. Joe DeMeo, hard-hitting stuff here. My favorite type of clubhouse dynamic is the one that wins a lot of baseball games. Yeah. Yes.
And every time you hear people say those things, it's 100% spot on. It's like, look, people always have opinions about clubhouses and the things that are going on. And a lot of times it's always surrounded by losing streaks, long-winded losing streaks, or just poor baseball. And it's like everything is chaotic, but you never hear a peep when people are winning ball games. So it's just like you come together, you win a couple of games, you put it all together, and it's like now the vibes are good. Now that's when you get something like 24, which was, again, in a bottle. But that's how those things happen, because winning is there and everything else just kind of becomes part of it, and Grimace and the songs and Latin pop stars, like all this nonsense becomes a thing. So I just think that, I'm with you, Joe. Like, if you go out there and win ball games, nobody really gives a shit then about what's going on in the clubhouse. And that eliminates the talking points from like the post and the gossip stuff, because there's no need for it, because the team's winning games. And that's all that people care about in the end.
Chrissy saying you need the glue guys, which I agree.
It's true.
Odd Villain saying the Mets should do ayahuasca as a group, just like a big group vibe.
But like, I do think, Chrissy's point there, saying you do need those glue guys. I think that's something that Stearns is learning, as he goes, because we saw from 24 who those glue guys were. We saw the changeover in 25, and it's like, oh, I can just replace said glue guys, and these players can be the same thing, which it didn't end up being the case. And it seemed like the glue guys were kind of missing from 25, and it didn't work as much. And you didn't have that cohesiveness, because I guarantee, to John's point, like, you have the person that says, well, I don't give the advice thing. Like, I go out there, do my thing. Just, I lead by example, like, follow me in what I do. And like, that's it. Whereas when you have those glue guys, they're the ones that take said messages and then are able to then transfer it over to the rest of the clubhouse. I think that a lot of people just assume that, when you are the front, like everyone thinks Francisco Lindor is like, oh, that's the captain. Like, it's not as though one player is able to run everything within a clubhouse. That is too tall of a task, because no matter how much you don't want to admit this as a person, but it goes in every walk of life. Doesn't matter what you do. It's always the lunchroom, and you're not going to be able to just relate to every single person. But some people are in multiple groups, and they're the ones that can spread and work. And those are the glue guys. And that's what you need in order to keep everything cohesive, because not always the best player is going to be able to relate something to everyone on the team, because that's just not who they are, from a personality standpoint.
Odd Villain, more glue guys, less poo guys. Which is like, it's funny because it sounds like it's a very tame written comment from Odd,
but it just works.
It does work, but it's also like, if you take out like the kid language of like poo, it's very cutting. It's like it's a very cutting thing to say to the people who, that you want to talk down about on the roster. Gab saying, do your job is the 2026 slogan, suck my ass 2014 Patriots. I'm sorry. I know Gab's a Bills fan, and we have in common hatred for the Patriots dynasty. I will not accept anything Patriots from any era associated with anything Mets from any era. They can have their own stupid slogans, and they could keep them, because no, I cannot abide it. I cannot. We have Joe DeMeo saying John in a clubhouse is the guy that needs a hug, ? Asking. Maybe sometimes. Yeah. I'm not maybe not a hug literally, but it is nice sometimes to get like I've been on a lot of teams, and sometimes it's nice to have somebody come by and be like, hey man, you'll get him next time. So I'll admit that that fits my personality. I've messed up on teams, and I've had people come over to me and be like, hey, it's all good, shake it off. Like, and sometimes I need that. I'm a pretty confident guy. I'm a pretty confident ball player, but like at my, threshold of ability level or whatever. But I've had people tell me, like, I've needed people to come over and be like, hey, it's all good. So, I know he's messing around, but like, I don't mind admitting that. This is a good one from Joe also. I have a great Desi Relaford story from a game I went to back in the day. Forced my poor mother to stay for the entire game, and they lost like 16-2 to the Padres. But Desi Relaford came into pitch and was touching 92, 93. That's like I don't know how to explain this further. That's the most Joe DeMeo story I've ever heard of. It's so spot on. Oh my God. Rosie saying, seems like Peralta is a glue guy. I think Peralta is like the ultimate glue guy. Like, it seems like his vibes are just like so high.
I mean, he was the guy. I mean, his thing is all, good vibes only, and everything that I saw. I didn't get to watch the entire interview with Martino yet, but I saw the presser, and everything that was said just came across with such like glee and joy, and just seems like a fun guy to be around, and someone that I know he said in the introduction that he wants to see how he integrates with everybody, and he's spoken with a couple people so far, but it's obviously going to be a little bit different than what he's used to. New surroundings. New York is different than Milwaukee, but everything about this guy, just, it's hard not to smile. And I think a lot of times when he was talking he was smiling, and it just, it did feel like what he preaches, like good vibes only. It just seems like a fun guy, and I think he's going to work in very well. I do.
Chris Scopo with another thought on how this could work. I just think the whole fan base needs to get on 300 milligrams of Wellbutrin just to give us a good base, just a functioning base.
I think that's fair.
That's very good. That's very good. Ibby, this one from Radiant, a little bit of a different take to some of the stuff we're talking about. Roster is not complete. Players who have no business getting temporary roles should not be on the roster. That's not depth. That's a waste of resources. Love the Bo Peralta additions. Rest is meh. LGM. I don't know if Radiant is still here, because sometimes people throw that LGM or something like that as kind of a sign off when they're leaving the show.
Right.
I'd love to get a little bit more of elaboration from Radiant on the specific players that are the ones who have no business getting temporary roles, shouldn't be on the roster. Because I think, Ibby, there are question marks around some of these players, most notably Beatty, Vientos, to, I think, a slightly lesser degree, Alvarez, because Alvarez is going to be your catcher, right? There are some question marks about what you can get from Marcus Semien offensively. There are some question marks about what you can get from Luis Robert Jr. offensively. So there are question marks. Is Benj going to be here? Is he going to play left field every day? Is it going to be in May? Is it going to be on day one? Whatever. There are questions, but apart from the questions, I don't think this is an ill-conceived roster. And I already kind of gave a lot of my reasons why before, even just with the Vientos, Polanco kind of backing up for each other, Beatty being a super utility. I think this is one of the most well-conceived rosters the Mets have put out since Steve Cohen owned the team, in terms of like people having roles, and then you having some superstars, but you also having some flexibility, you having some good floor guys, but also some high ceiling guys. Like, to me, this roster makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the ability that he has created, maintaining stars, going out and getting pieces that work, getting a stabilizer for the rotation, adding in someone like a Tobias Myers that can work both ways as a starter in a pinch, has great numbers out of the pen. Like, everything, defensively, they have gotten better. The lineup as a whole just looks a lot better 1 through 9 than what it had in previous years. Like, it just feels proper. And look, there's always going to be question marks because of, whether it be health or first time doing something. I know people want to, harp on the Polanco at first and Bichette at third thing, but I just think that this team as a whole, I wouldn't agree with the whole stance that it's meh outside of those two, because I do think that this team has gotten a lot stronger. And I think people are, iffy on that because it's different. And a lot of times people think that just because you do something different, that doesn't guarantee that it's going to be good, but it also doesn't mean that it's not going to be good either, because you've been accustomed to one way of doing something and you've found zero success with it. So why can't we allow this to, to play out. Like, I just think that overall, to finish with the point that John was making before, I think that when you have as many moving pieces as they've had this entire offseason, they've still left enough space to work things from within, like calling people up, whether that is bench, whether that is one of the pitchers, or going out and making a deal at the deadline where something can still come in and help you. Like, there's a lot of moving parts that still makes you an 85 plus win team, and you can still allow yourself to get even better because you still have space on here as well. So I just think everything that was done makes a ton of sense. Is it different? Yes, but I think different in this case does work.
Also, Gab makes a really good point here before we head into the break. The lineup makes perfect sense. We don't have a logjam of power hitters in the 1 through 4 spots. It's lengthy and will actually allow the Mets to capitalize with runners in scoring position. I do completely agree with this. And I think that's the thing lost in this. And I do agree. I do agree with what Game for War said earlier. If you swap out just for 2026, forget about contracts and all of that stuff. I mean, if you swap out Pete Alonso at first base, even with all his deficiencies, for Jorge Polanco, and you put Pete Alonso batting fourth behind Bichette and with Robert in the lineup and with Simeon in the lineup, you do look at that and say, that's sexier. It's definitely sexier to have a legitimate 40 home run, old school, Jim Tomei archetype, Harmon Killebrew, like RBI guy, power hitter guy in the 4 spot playing first base. I do understand that, and I will even concede that point. But this notion that the Mets can't possibly make up for the home runs lost, when if you just look at the scope of their lineup and you see that you could easily have all of these guys putting up 20 plus home runs, they're going to make up the home runs. Like, the power's going to be there. And then in totality for the team. And then when you start to look at, better at bats, more clutch, better numbers with runners in scoring position, better batting average, even though that's not the be all end all, you start to go, I don't know, even if they don't make up the home runs exactly, would it matter?
I mean, to the point that I was gonna jump on, I think it was, I lost it. Oh, here it is. Some from Keith just bringing up how, like, the idea of that is one thing, but would have all these other things still have happened? Would you have
right?
missed
Which is
out
why
on something else? Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. That's why I wanted to just take the contract, take it all off the table.
Okay.
Take it all. Yeah. Because yes, you don't know what's going to happen. I just mean, if you're playing fantasy baseball, like plugging in Pete Alonso to the middle of this lineup is better. It's better.
It's better, and it's better for the 26th season. And I think based off of the stuff that was written by Sherman in that article, just goes to show you that they were not interested at anything beyond, the 3 years, beyond the 1 year, really, because they were. But his words written, I'm sure it's well sourced and cited, but like his words saying how this team is a lot more confident what Jorge Polanco can bring them overall, as opposed to Pete Alonso. Like, that's the feeling of the club, and that's the direction they decided to go. And it's an interesting one. I understand the defensive, but I do think there's a difference in terms of the offense. But to just also hop on what Gab said before. Like, if we never have to talk about Pete Alonso again, that'd be fantastic. Mainly because it has been done to death and people still won't let it go. And I know that people are always going to, attach to it the second Polanco goes into a slump or is moved off of first for a given day or whatever, because they try something different. I know it's always going to be a talking point this year, but I'm over it as well. I'm tired of it, and I'm tired of the people because not spoiler, but like, maybe this is going to sound a little bit harsh, but like, for me, I love Pete Alonso, or I love this time here, but if I never have to hear his name ever again, like, that'd be fantastic, because I'm over it. Like, I'm completely over it. I get that you love the guy, but frankly, I don't give a shit anymore. He's not a New York Met. He's not here. It's over. It's time to move on. If I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry, but that's just how I feel.
No, I couldn't agree more. I want to pull up these two comments. Joe DeMeo saying the Mets will score more runs in 2026 than in 2025. If they need more power, they can just get it in season. Completely agree.
Yes.
Gab kind of saying the same thing, but in a more colorful way. Who fucking cares about home runs when there's no one else on base? Not saying they're empty in quotes, but you can't to say you can't replicate runs even in the aggregate with proven situational hitters is ridiculous. I think they're both right. And I do want to bring up.
Can't say aggregate. Can't. You sound like a geek. You sound like Billy Bean. You sound like Moneyball. You can't say the word aggregate.
Where's your skinny jeans?
Yeah, where's your
skinny jeans and your smile? You think you're smarter than everybody else, Gab.
Harvard boy. Yeah, what are you doing?
But no, I want to bring up something, and I apologize for not having the numbers directly in front of me like I did on Walk Off Whiskey on Friday. But the Mets hit, it was like 224 home runs or something like that in 2025. They were 5th in the major leagues as a team in home runs. The team that was directly in front of them in 4th was the Angels. The Angels were horrendous. Worse than the Mets. Wire to wire, worse than the Mets. 2 terrible teams. Where did it get them? All of the projections, and I know you take projections with a grain of salt, the lowest number I saw from reputable sources had the Mets at like 196 home runs, and the highest number I saw was 206. So if you just split the difference and put them at about 200 home runs, it'd be 200 home runs would have had them in 10th place in the majors in 2025, which would have been more than enough. And then again, when you start to factor in all of the other things that they can do offensively that aren't just reliant on the home runs, I think it's going to total out to being a better offensive team. And oh, by the way, if you just look at the people, and again, I know we're taking projections with a grain of salt, but Mark Vientos has hit 27 home runs in a major league season. And Alvarez has hit 28 home runs in his rookie year, something like that. He was right up in the 20s.
Mid-20s.
Yeah, okay. So, and then you had Beatty, who just had his career high, which I think was like 18 or 19. And you've got Lindor as a known commodity. You have Soto as a known commodity. You start to look at these guys and you're like, okay, so even if I take on the lower end, if Beatty gives me 20 and Vientos gives me 20 and Alvarez gives me 20 and Bichette only gives me 20, and Simeon can give me 20, which is not crazy. And Robert could give me 20. There's plenty of home runs when you factor in that Lindor was probably going to hit 30 and Soto's probably going to hit 40. Yeah. There's going to be enough home runs to go around. Thank you, Armand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, like I don't care how you score the runs. I don't care if it's over the fence or not. Like it feels like the approach here is, we'll take the home runs when we get, however they may come, which, like you're saying, 15 to 20 home run guys, while sprinkled in with the guys that you're expecting power from. You're expecting Lindor to give you 25 to 30. You're expecting Bichette to give you probably like 25, 30 on the higher end. And you're expecting, Juan Soto to be Juan Soto, 35 to 40 home runs, while allowing everyone else around them to just, like I said before, keep that quarter in the merry-go-round and keep things moving. I don't care how you freaking score, man. Just score runs. Who cares?
I'm going to pull this one up from Carson and we'll head into the break. Power isn't the end-all be-all. Quality of contact more so is. That's what they added. Power isn't just damage. Damage can just be power. And I think that's the perfect way to encapsulate the thought process. So good on Carson. Good on everybody so far in the comments. And thank you, Armand. I thought it was 28. Alvy hit 25 home runs in 123 games, 23 plate appearances in 2023. We'll head into the break. You guys know how it works. The break is just a quick little reset we do for the live show, also for the audio show that will drop later on today. Do not go anywhere. I'm John. That's Ibby. This is Til Mets Do Us Part. We will be right back. Yo, just like that, we are back with Til Mets Do Us Part, live on YouTube, live on Twitter, live on Substack, like we are each and every single week. John Saponaro, Matt Ibanez, plus all of you in the comments. We appreciate each and every single person, not only commenting and getting involved and helping us move the conversation along, but even the folks who are in the background. They don't want to contribute. They don't want to add to the comments. All good if you're feeling a bit shy. We appreciate everybody who is listening, watching, however you choose to digest Til Mets Do Us Part. Thank you, thank you, thank you for doing it. Ibby, before we get back into the conversation, let's hit them with a quick word from our friends over at Independent Safes.
Absolutely, John. IndependentSafes.com. Independent Safes are protecting homes and businesses with secure residential and commercial safes. Fireproof peace of mind in every corner. Visit IndependentSafes.com today for security that stands strong. And that leads us into our favorite segment of the week. It is time for somebody to go into the safe. And this week we are throwing away the key. And look, I have my feelings on Joel Sherman, but I feel like we kind of talked about that already in totality in the first half of the show. So Joel, I'm going to save you for another week, because I'm sure we'll have a conversation about him at some point moving forward. So you narrowly escape, but one person that was mentioned in the comments before is definitely going into the safe, because if we're trying to move on, all of us as Mets fans, the Mets in general, David Stern, Steve Cohen, there it is. It's Eric Chavez. Like, you, my friend, are going in the safe, the smallest of safes. We're like going to compact you in there, put you in, lock it, throw that thing into the ocean, because I'm tired of hearing this guy in people's DMs bitching and moaning and whining and complaining about anything and everything about the New York Mets. Meanwhile, everyone that was a part of that staff goes off and gets new jobs, and this guy is still unemployed. And shout out to the guy when I made fun of Chavez for this. The guy who jumped into my comments and my mentions saying how, oh, Chavez is a multimillionaire. He doesn't need work. Well, I'm sorry. Then why the hell was he coaching in the first place? And if he was such a damn good coach, why doesn't he have a job again? So please, I don't need it.
I'm not 100% sure that the Jets aren't going to hire Eric Chavez. They're a fucking
at this point,
mess.
The Jets are
fucking
they
mess.
are. Oh
what
my
a
God.
I know this is.
We can go another hour.
I'm sorry. I know that's. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but God damn it, I don't know what they're doing. So like there's more of a chance of him getting hired by the Jets than him getting another MLB job. I'll say that.
I mean, everything and anything about Eric Chavez needs to just be forgotten. Mets fans, like, why are you asking this guy questions? Clearly, you are a self-hating Met fan who wants to just believe everything he says because you hate Stearns or whatever, and clearly he does too, because he got axed, probably because of his damn burner account. But all in all, let's leave Eric Chavez in 2025. It's 2026. Let's stop asking him questions. Let's stop giving him anything to go off of. Let him just disappear into the ether, because nobody gives a damn about this guy. Let it go. Eric Chavez, you are in the shape. You are in the safe. Adios.
Rosie, who brought up the comment earlier, saying that Chavez was an early candidate for the safe, says he's so bitter, he's so arrogant and incompetent. That sums up my feelings on Eric Chavez in a nutshell. He is absolutely bitter. It's in every fucking thing he says. He is absolutely arrogant. It's in everything he says. Listen, I'll go along with incompetent. Incompetent is strong, but it's clear that he is not being valued as a hitting coach in Major League Baseball right now. So, his reputation has taken a hit, if nothing else, in terms of him being a competent coach in Major League Baseball. Lazy Mary wants New Jersey Transit in the safe. Lazy Mary was having issues watching the show in its entirety because of the slowness of New Jersey Transit. So that's why
I did see that Mary got an actual message back from the past today, telling him, hey, show him this message and make sure you get your fare taken care of. So hopefully everything worked out for you there, Lazy.
Yeah, Odd Villain saying Jet Williams and Luis Angel Acuna fit in the safe standing up.
That's a good one, Odd. That's a good one.
Gab wants Pete Alonso in the safe. Pete Alonso conversation.
I'm down with that one too.
Gab also wants her and Chrissy in the safe. Chrissy also wants her and Gab in the safe. They've been lobbying for that for an hour and a half and also on other shows. Okay. Armand saying Eric Kratz from Foul Territory can go in the safe. That's fine. I don't hate that. Odd Villain, Eric Chavez bookmarks feet pics.
Odd wants the title. He wants the title this week. He wants it.
Eric Chavez is going to coach Team ISIS in the World Baseball Classic.
Odd's giving us a lot to work with today. Mary, he's coming for your belt. He's coming for your crown, Mary.
Odd is coming in fucking JDS. Chavez needs a one-way trip to go see the Titanic. Tired of his nonsense.
It's true.
Oh my God. There's so many. More petty than 50 Cent.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Not as funny, but just as accurate.
Yes, very accurate.
Also, Chrissy saying that wasn't a no. We didn't say that they can't go in the safe. They can do whatever they want. They want to go in the safe. Yeah. Go in the safe. You can do it. It's up to you guys. Man, that was Odd really got me with the coaching Team ISIS in the World Baseball
That was a good one.
Classic. Oh man. I don't know. My candidate for the safe, I could easily just piggyback off you and put Eric Chavez in. And that's where my gut goes. But just in the sake of having a different conversation, I'm actually going to go with Keith McPherson.
Oh,
and
okay.
This one was a little bit more particular to the interaction he and I had on Twitter, but it was started because he was on a podcast and Seven Line retweeted it basically saying, this guy, like, at least he said the quiet part out loud about like being somebody who admitted that he was trolling Met fans on the air on WFAN. And it's like, listen, man, admitting it doesn't make it any better. Like, you're still doing it. You're still showing such a lack of credibility and such a lack of integrity. And, the back and forth that we had was basically like, I tried to, like, I was harsh, but I was earnest and I was honest. And then it was met with, hey man, I'll be good. You'll be good. It's not that deep. And it's like, that's such a deflection of when someone lays legitimate criticism at your feet of like, your job on the radio is not to be a troll. Your job is to be a sports personality. Now, look, I'm not going to compare everything. Like, I joke around about Francesa and the Mad Dog and, their shortcomings, and there are fucking plenty for those guys too. But there is something, Ibby, about like the reason why sports radio has fallen off and sports programming in the mainstream world has fallen off because it's all become hot takes. Yeah, you would get it 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever, when Francesa was still on the air. He might say a thing out of the side of his mouth, like, because he's a Yankee fan. He would needle the Met fans a little bit.
It's tweak the Mets. It was always tweak the Mets, tweak the Jets. It was always those things. Yeah.
Sure. And I know that as a fan of both who listened to WFAN growing up, it would annoy me. And sometimes I'd have to turn the radio off.
Yep.
But when it came time to have honest, earnest conversations about the team, you weren't met with the hot take. Now, listen, Francesa might have been right. He might have been wrong. You might disagree or agree. He might be off base, whatever. But you're like, oh, he's not clowning. He's not trolling. And for McPherson to be like, I saw a lane and I took it. Well, maybe if you didn't take that lane, maybe you'd still be on the radio. Maybe if you had one shred of integrity in your entire body, you'd still be on the radio. So I don't think this thought process of like, well, any publicity is good publicity. And I know that's always been the adage, like since American media was created, and it's only been blown up in the social media era. Like, I understand it. I get it. You want impressions, you want views, and you don't care if they're good or bad. But at some point that bill comes due where, like, I don't understand how it's the job of a personality to be disliked. Like, this isn't wrestling. It's not a shoot. You're not a heel. You're supposed to be an objective personality creating and giving information of stuff that you're supposed to, people are coming to you for as a, I don't want to say expert, but you know what I mean, as an authority. And to sit there and be like, well, nah, I just thought like, I'm not a Mets fan, so why would I praise them? So I just want to troll them. And that was my niche. Well, it sucked because respectfully, when Keith McPherson first got the job, I couldn't wait to listen to this dude. I was like, the WFAN hired a guy who wasn't 100 years old, who wasn't another white guy, who was a guy who wasn't an industry lifer, who had an interesting story and interesting perspective. Dope. Long overdue. But then all of a sudden he's like, nah, I'm gonna poke and prod. It's bullshit. So for me, he's the guy that can go in the safe.
Yeah, I just think that unfortunately that's the lane that many take now, because it's the way, like you said, to get hits and likes, and you see how people poke and prod the Met fan because they know it's going to get a reaction. And he obviously took advantage of that. And look, it's not for me. I never really engaged with the guy because that just wasn't, I knew what he was doing. I didn't appreciate it. I didn't care for it because I thought, like you said, it was kind of shitty, but I get why he's doing it. I don't like it. But unfortunately, like, he's not the only one that does this type of stuff. Many do, but to try to just throw it under the bus now, like, it's no big deal. Like, you knew what I was doing. Like, be my friend. Like, I know he's trying to like mend fences now and realize that maybe you shouldn't alienate a fan base, especially when you're trying to make it bigger within New York sports. If you just want to do Yankee content, that's one thing, but it seemed like you wanted to do more, and especially when you're on the fan, like you said, not everyone's going to be Mike and Dog, but you can still have a proper conversation and not make things where it's, I'm just going to troll this team and make my team sound better, because that's not being impartial. That's not speaking properly on a topic. That's being biased and just makes you come across as, in so few words, shitty.
Yeah. A lot of people kind of echoing the sentiment here. On Keith McPherson. I like this one from Gab. Keith McPherson is the Eric Chavez of baseball media. Nobody steal that. I'm going to tweet that. Love you. Bye. And then Chrissy saying, didn't Keith ask Gab for a job on Twitter? To which Gab said,
I think he did.
Yeah, I guess he did. I thought I remembered seeing something like that. So, that's certainly interesting. This is a good one. Maybe you started this one from Lazy Mary. Harold Reynolds' dumbass needs to go in the safe 1 week.
I just read it because I laughed so hard at that because it just came across so blunt. But Harold Reynolds has not been good since Baseball Tonight ended. Like, I don't know what the hell happened to that guy. Like, he was a star back in the day. He was awesome. And he's just completely lost. I don't know if it's age. I don't know what the hell it is, but he has been awful for the longest time.
Yeah, he is. He's unwatchable. And like, that's on a show.
Oh, man.
That's on a show, Ibby, that should be so low lift, right? Like, I don't know what's that show called with him and Vescursion. I don't even, it's like MLB Central or some stupid name.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Whatever. But the bottom line is
they like run like Hot Stove too, like in the mornings, like during the off season. Like, this should be something where you're up to date and you understand everything. And like, that's the furthest thing from what it is.
It's not like, the South Park 6 days to air when they're like animating, writing, conceptualizing an entire script for a show, in less than a week to have it out. Like, they have all night to work on this stuff and make sure their talking points are buttoned up. Like, this is not a breaking news show is my point. Right. They set up 5 days a week to do this show. That show should be so easy to do for those two guys. And it's not. And it's mind-numbing to me that it's as difficult as they make it sound. Honestly, like, I don't understand. Armand saying it's called Hot Stove on MLB Network. What is MLB Central? Is the in-season morning show. Thank you. Okay. Still, MLB Central is a bad name. I don't like that name.
If it doesn't have Greg Amsinger, I don't care. As long as he's on it, I'll watch it because he's great. He's awesome.
Anyway, that has been Throw Away the Key. Brought to you by Independent Saves. I mean, this segment gets longer and longer and
because everyone wants their piece, and it's fun. It's fun, especially now because like I feel like we've talked about a lot of the stuff that we wanted to cover so far. We can still get into some of the back end stuff, but something like that now at this point of the off season, I think it's acceptable.
Keith, the media goon. One of the better things for me at the QBC was Sal and Sap burying the hatchet. Yes, we buried the hatchet officially. Sal
I was not there to see it, but I was told that I was shocked when John walked up to me. He said, "I just buried the hatchet with Sal." I said, "Get out of here!" No, you didn't.
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah, in the green room, and it happened." I go, "All right then. Like I'm proud of you. That's progress. That's a good thing."
He opened the door. He opened the door for it. I think there was we both knew from Keith, the media goon, that there was probably an avenue to squash the beef, and it came about organically in a way that I did not expect. And so it was good. And who knows? Who knows? Maybe Salicata will be a guest on this show. Who knows?
Woo!
I don't know.
Yeah. Me and him talking Falcon football. That's what we're going to do instead.
Oh, my God. I'll just leave. I'll just get out. Jake Brown in the house saying, what up, fam? What up, Jake?
Hey, what up,
Brown?
Jake? What's up,
I
man?
haven't talked to Jake in a minute. We should get Jake. Speaking of guests on the show, we should get Jake Brown back on the show. We got to figure it out. Game for War. John and Ibby, shut up and acknowledge the greatness of Jake Brown's presence. Has Game for War been Jake Brown's secret burner the whole time?
Oh, my God.
I love
funny.
It. Okay.
That's great.
Look, I want to bring up, yes, Aunt Rivera was there. That's true. Aunt Rivera was there and saw me squash the beef with Salicata. It actually happened. He was there for it. Okay. Let's get back into the Mets conversation in earnest, of course, which is the reason why we're all here. I did want to bring this up, Ibby. Before we went into the break, I was talking about, how the Mets could make up the home runs, but didn't even necessarily have to. And Carson said 30, like if you're looking at Lindor and Soto batting, 1 and 2, 30, 40, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20 is greater than 30, 40, 40, 5 and 2 home runs. It's called a team, not the New York Pete's, as DeGrom said in 2019. It's a really, really, really good point.
It's hard to go against that. And I think, you want to have again, this comes down to just building a better lineup. You want 1 through 9. Everyone in this chat, everyone in this fan base, everyone on social media, people when you're at the stadium, you're like, nobody can hit in the bottom half of this lineup. Nobody can hit the bottom half. You would dread it because you would lose multiple innings throughout a game because nobody could hit a lick, and you'd be praying that the top end would be able to hit. I think that you're going to have much better at bats, and we're going to just watch a better brand of baseball, a different brand of baseball, a brand that we can actually enjoy on a nightly basis and not have to go weeks on end throughout a given season watching just incompetent baseball. I think we're going to have much better this year. I do.
Yeah. Something I said has gotten a rise out of Gab. She said, get Jake back on the show. Wow. Okay. To which Jake himself said, Gab greater than Jake. To be clear, you guys both welcome back on the show anytime.
Both welcome, of course.
Gab was on the show during the winter meetings, right? So
yes.
That was like a month ago. Jake hasn't been on the show with us in over a year.
It's been longer than that. I'm pretty sure it was like the last lockout? It's been a while.
Maybe. I think the last thing we did Jake's show when Jake was, yeah. Okay. So that was the last. So it wasn't even on this show. Anyway, nobody cares about that. Jake, since I had hair. I've got a good one here from our boy Master Flip. Master Flip said, y'all down for a Mania for Sevy swap? I don't think this is going to happen. And we know Flip is
Flip, you can't do a jersey swap for that one because it's already, they already exist. So you can't do a jersey swap on that one.
No, but Flip is never satisfied. Flip always
No.
wants the next move. I love Flip. Shout out Flip.
Shout out
Flip wants
Flip.
the next move. Flip wants to see the next thing happen. But Ibby, as we spend the last bit of this show talking about what may or may not be next, we've already touched on it a little bit in the first half. You know, Austin Hayes signing to round out the depth of the bench, whatever. I don't think it's beyond the scope of possibility for the Mets to deal a starting pitcher still. I think that pitcher is more than likely either Peterson or Senga. I don't think it's going to be Manaea. But I'm just asking you, would you do this? I don't think it's going to happen, but would you do this deal?
I mean, maybe I would. Like, I enjoyed Sevy when he was here. I enjoyed Manaea during that 24 season. I spoke, at length about my reservations about giving him a contract. I understood why they wanted to walk away from both. I understood why they ended up giving Manaea that deal because they were kind of backed into the corner where they had to. Maybe I would do this. Do I think it's going to happen? No, because I obviously always come back to if David Stearns wanted someone, he would have either gotten them or paid them or kept them or what have you. And by them opting to let Sevy go, even though Sevy said, his words not 100% verified if this is the truth or if it was just speaking just to, curry favor, if you will, that he would have taken less years to stay in New York. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that also speaks volumes about David Stearns saying how he didn't want him essentially even on the 2 years as opposed to the 3, which at this point would be what, a 2-year deal, right? Does he have 2 years left if they took him back?
I believe so. I believe it's 2 years for both guys.
I don't like, again, I think the outcome would be very similar, no matter what arm you have on the team. Like, I think that whichever one was here, I think you're going to get similar results. So it's just like, which name do you like more, essentially, when it comes to something like this?
Yeah.
But I think I would. Not going to happen. Would I be okay with it? Yeah, sure. Why not? But it's not something that I'm just like, yeah, do this.
Yeah, I also think, is this fair to say, and you could tell me if I'm off base, and the chat can tell me too. I do think you're right in that they're probably ultimately going to give you similar numbers. But doesn't Sean Manaea have a higher ceiling than Luis Severino right now?
Ceiling,
at this point
yes.
in their careers?
I believe so, yes.
To me, with the money being comparable and the years being the same and the likelihood of them giving you similar numbers also being on the table, I think I'd rather just gamble on the high side and just see if maybe you get something better from Manaea than you could get out of Severino.
I would take the ceiling. I think it's easy to argue that, the safer floor play is someone like Severino. And I know people can throw out the stats too when it comes to Severino's numbers last year away from that bandbox that is, that minor league stadium that Sacramento is playing in. That he was a completely different pitcher on the road as opposed to home. I think he had like a 6+ ERA at home, where on the road he was pitched like a 3 ERA or lower than that. So his overall numbers don't look that hot, but
yeah,
when you factor that, getting him away from that park, much better pitcher. So I get that, but I think, floor wise, a person, if they wanted floor, they would probably say Severino. I think Manaea offers a little bit extra when it comes to ceiling. So it's a whatever type of deal if it was to happen. I wouldn't have a feeling either way on it, but I think that Sean Manaea stays and is the proper one to stay.
Yeah, Jake bringing up a good point. Manaea is beloved in the clubhouse. I don't think the Mets would consider dealing him maybe next year. I do think that's a possibility if he has a big year or at least a major bounce back year to where he becomes an affordable 1-year proposition. You get the graduation of Jonah Tong into a full-fledged position in the rotation. You still have McLean. Maybe you go ahead and you extend Peralta. Maybe you want to be in the market for Skubal anyway. I think there are what do you call it? Like permutations and combinations that would see the Mets maybe trading Sean Manaea after a good year next year, not right now. I also agree with Carson on this. Believe it or not, Minaya has better stuff and better command than Severino at this point. I do agree with that. So Odd Villain saying, let's split the difference, sign Framber. I can't. I don't think, oh my God, Lazy Mary's still on the train. I don't know where Lazy Mary is coming from and where Lazy Mary is going, but this seems like too long. Right? I'm sorry, I got completely derailed my own argument. How? That seems insane.
Hence why NJ Transit is in the safe.
Oh man, Chrissy, Mary losing his crown to New Jersey Transit.
That's a good comment. That's a good one.
Jake Brown putting it all on the line. If the Mets land Yandy Diaz, I will bring Lazy Mary to a game this year. Lazy has been very vocal in his disapproval of Jake Brown's existence. I'm not sure a better way to put that. Oh man, Jake being a good sport about it. Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think there's I think once you get Freddy Peralta on this team, Ibby, I think you then have the opportunity. Jesus Christ. I will not be going to the game from Lazy Mary. Yeah, of course you won't be going to the game. You're still going to be on fucking New Jersey Transit.
Oh my God. Oh man.
Bow, it was me all along. I've been here the whole time. I'm just kidding. I can't accept it. I can't accept it.
Oh
okay.
my God.
Okay. So we have Freddy Peralta here. Freddy Peralta raises the floor and the ceiling of the rotation, which I think is the important part. We wanted to get a guy who was a bit of a known commodity that could preferably pitch at the beginning of the rotation or game 1 or game 2 of a playoff series, that kind of thing. And he does that. That allows you to take the bigger swing on a guy like keeping a guy like Sean Manaea, as opposed to a guy like Luis Severino, who you think maybe will give you more of a floor. But my question now to you in the offshoot of that, Freddy Peralta has been very vocal about wanting to sign an extension with Milwaukee. He approached them. They were never going to do it because they don't have the money to do it. There was a report that he wanted to go to a team that would have the wherewithal to sign him to an extension. And then since then, he has said all of the right things, as have the Mets, of basically like, we'll handle the business later. Let's get him acclimated, blah, 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 blah. But you're talking about a front office person in David Stearns who has already extended Freddy Peralta once and now has traded for him twice. So, Ibby, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but I think that a Freddy Peralta extension is, I don't know, likely would be the word I would use. I think it's a greater than a 50% chance.
I would agree with that. And I think, everything, when he was presented that question during the introduction, I thought Freddie did a great job of answering it, saying, look, I just got here. I'm trying to integrate. I want to see how I fit with an organization, which is all the right things to say, because you ask for those things in Milwaukee because you know the operation over there. You've been there your entire career. You know what the land is, the lay of the land is, and why you would ask to spend more time there and get your money, because you understand everything. But when you come somewhere new, you want to make sure that everything's on the up and up. You want to feel comfortable. I think that in the end, he is someone that can thrive in this setting. I think he likes the pressure. I mean, it's easy to say that now. And then of course, when you have, a rough start in the beginning of June, and you have, this fan base going insane over a poor stat line, you might question some things. But I think that he wants these lights. I think he's a guy that wants to be in this type of setting, to have that playoff atmosphere type of setting on a more daily basis, as opposed to just when you're in the playoffs. And he wants the pressure in that sense. I think he fits. I really do. And I'll allow things to play out more. I said it during the spot with you on Friday that I don't believe that he's someone that's going to get the extension like right now or tomorrow. I think these things get closer to happening maybe towards spring training, towards the tail end of it, if it is to happen, if not during the season. I don't know if he's going to be that type of person who says, like, if things aren't figured out before the start of the season, then I'm going to not talk about this. I'm going to focus on the season, which could very well be what both sides end up wanting anyway. But I think he makes too much sense, and I think he fits what this team has been searching for. I know that somebody jumped into the comments on one of my shorts that I posted on the channel, and they said that you can't call someone an ace that can't go past 5 innings. And I know people have talked about his numbers in general. Again, won 17 games last year, and he's also one of 2 pitchers over the last 3 seasons that have thrown for 200 plus strikeouts. It's him and it's Dylan Cease. Those are the only 2 pitchers over the last 2 years that have had 200 plus strikeouts over the last, consecutively the last 3 seasons. So don't tell me the guy's not good. Don't tell me the guy can't be front end when you're putting up numbers like that. And I think that in this setting, I think he can thrive more. And I think he makes a ton of sense for an extension. I do.
Yeah. And look, there's also other things that factor into this. Ibby and I always talk about how many real true aces are there in Major League Baseball. The answer is it's probably less than 10 if we're going to put like a very harsh set of circumstances around it to be an ace, a person who is a bona fide number 1, no matter which rotation they're in. And, the person that you would pick, to start a game where your life was on the line, those kind of hypotheticals and all this
ace
stuff.
Ace across baseball is one thing. Ace for a staff is something different.
Exactly. And they do get used interchangeably and even by us on this show. So it's just part of the nomenclature of baseball. But I do think a couple of things. One, I think that it's clear that Freddy Peralta has some ace across baseball tendencies. You just pointed out one. I think there are things about him that have already put him into the conversation, although I would admit he's not fully there yet. But to your point, Freddy Peralta is probably a top 15 starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. He is no worse than top 20 if you look around the landscape of the team. I don't think there are 20 starting pitchers that have a better combination of, age, ability, upside, all on their side with a proven track record growing behind them that are better than Freddy Peralta. The last thing I'll say is, if you look at some of the things that Freddy Peralta has done over the last 2 and 3 seasons, this is my biggest case for an extension for him. I think he is going to be better this year, next year, and the year after than he has been in the 3 years prior. I think he is getting better every year. And I think at 29, as a guy who was a swingman, fastball Freddy only fastball pitcher, I think the guy's learned how to pitch. And I think you're going to see a big year from him now that puts him firmly in that ace category for 2026 and beyond. So if I'm the Mets, I'm looking to extend him before he does that. So I think a March contract extension a la Lindor is possible. And if I were the Mets, I'd be looking to do it because I think right now you could get Peralta on, a 5-6 year deal, kind of extension. And for very reasonable money. And I think relative to his talent, I think if you let him go and pitch the year, he's going to have an astronomical number attached to him. That's what I think.
A lot of red on that Savant page too, man. A lot of red. So it's just like he's everything that makes sense for this team and everything that they want to accomplish, which is why I was so adamant that he was the target. He was the one to go out and get, which they ended up doing. And I think he's going to thrive here. I really do. I just think the overall vibe that he brings, and I don't think it's going to be, I don't think the setting is going to be too big for him. I really don't. And I know that I didn't see the interview, and if someone in the comments can mention it, I know that I think it was a talking point about how, the 5-inning thing and the nickname 5-inning Fred, like all these different things. He knows that it's something, and correct me if I'm wrong, he knows that it's something that he needs to better himself at, and he believes that he knows what he needs to do. I think that's what he said. I don't want to speak out of place, but I think he did say, I understand what I need to do in order to get to that point, and I plan on working on that, and I do believe that I'm going to get there this season. And if that's the case, it just adds so much more to what he can be for this team as that stabilizing factor.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this is a fair one from Game for War. Based on their criteria, 200 Ks equals an ace. I think that's for
in
me,
today's baseball. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, look, we all want the ace pitcher that goes longer. You just talked about it, right? You'd like your ace to go, I don't know, I'd say like an average of like at least 6 1/3, right? Like
in today's baseball, yes.
Yeah. Old school baseball fans are going to tell me more, but I think in today's baseball, like an average of 6 1/3 is fine. 5 is on the lower end. Anything lower than that. But
quality start is what? 6 and 3, right? Six innings and 3 runs.
6 innings, 3 runs or less. Yeah.
That's quality start. Yeah.
But I do think that when you're putting up 200 Ks a year, the way baseball is played now, that's a pretty good criteria for an ace. I don't think it's the only one,
agree.
but I think that's a good one to circle. I think Game is spot on with that. Armand saying 5 years, 150 million, 30 million in AAV. That's what I'm saying. Look, 30 million is not a low number, but again, I think you look at not the AAV, but the total length of the deal and the total money in the deal. Signing a pitcher of his ability level to a 5-year contract at 29 years old is exactly what the Mets would want to do. And if he goes out there and he jumps up in this season from a top 20, maybe top 15 pitcher into a top 10 pitcher, you're going to have to pay more than that. You're going to have to give him more years than that.
I still think he's going to be.
I would pay him off of this.
Yeah, I still think, based off those numbers I just told you, like he is one of 2 pitchers with 200 plus strikeouts, consecutively over the last 3 seasons. And that other pitcher was Dylan Cease, and that's the guy I've been comparing him to when it comes to contract, because I think I would rather have Peralta than Cease. And if you take deferrals into real value, I think the real value of Dylan Cease's contract was 7 years, 180. I know he got 210 with deferrals, but 180, like I think that's really where you're going to have to go if Freddy Peralta and his agents are going to say, hey, this is a comparable right here. Here are the numbers. There's the numbers that they end up getting and signing for. This is what we're working off of. If you're not going to have deferrals in this, then we want straight money in terms of this. We want 185 over a handful of seasons. That's what it's going to come down to, which is why I've always said I don't think an extension is a slam dunk. I think it makes a ton of sense, but where the price point is going to be the most fascinating thing, because are they doing this for the season? Do they want to have him here long term? Do they want to be more of a player when it comes to Skubal next year? Because it's clear as day that he's not getting traded. I know, Flip, if you're still in the comments, you still think he is. I disagree with you on that one. We'll see what ends up happening with this whole ARB case, but I think that Skubal is a free agent next year. And is that going to play into the math? I know Carson just said in the comments he wants Peralta figured out, so they're not trying to juggle both things at once, wants a clear path. I understand that too. I think it really comes down to what's the total amount that Peralta would want. Is he going to use Dylan Cease as the comp? I think he is, and I think he has every right to as well.
Yeah, I think that's all fair. I wanted to pull up this comment from before. Ethan said, I need a fireball. And then I caught a stray somehow from Chrissy saying, even people with a whiskey-themed podcast don't drink it, Ethan. One time, I didn't drink it because it was the Friday after New Year's, and I said I had had a lot of whiskey, but I still wanted to do the show, so I had a tea because I wanted to do the show. I think that's...
Well, you had the Ron Swanson mug, too, so no one knew what was actually inside that, so no one knows.
That's fair, but it was a Ron Swanson mug, and I gave the reason for it. And then Lazy Mary jumping in and saying, Ethan, Fireball is not real whiskey, child. There was a little back and forth there, but I'm gonna have to go and give Lazy Mary his credit, because Fireball is it's not real whiskey. It's not. Just want to get that out there. Chrissy saying it's because she had to pop in and tell me to sip it along the way. I forget. It's hard when you're doing a show solo, Ibby. It is hard to remember to have a drink.
The show's theme, though. You got to keep sipping, otherwise you're going to be on the show forever. You got to finish. You got to finish that drink.
Drunk John is the most highly requested John per YouTube analytics. So breaking news: Lazy Mary is off the train.
Thank God.
Off the train.
All to
And
get
yes.
back on in a couple hours.
Yes, Gab. Never half-ass one thing.
Whole ass one thing.
Yeah,
it's true.
I think isn't it never half-ass two things, whole ass one thing? Isn't that the quote from Ron Swanson? It's not one thing and one thing. I think it's never half-ass two things, whole ass one thing. I think that's how it goes. I've seen
Parks and Rec so many times I don't remember.
I have seen it more times, I think, than any other show from start to finish. Although New Girl is close. They are both frequent rewatches of mine, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Too bad you left your crown on the train. And Gab says, I think you're right. Maybe. I've had some wine. Ibby, we got a few minutes to play with here on this show. So there's a lot of different places we could go over the last 10 minutes or so. I don't know where you want to take the conversation. I don't know if there's anything we didn't necessarily get to that we should absolutely hit on with like in the fallout of where this offseason is gone. If there's anything about what's next that you want to talk about, I think we've kind of touched on everything that was like super pertinent, including the Peralta extension stuff, which I honestly didn't think we were going to get to. So is there anything that we missed that you want to jump in on here in the last 15 minutes or so?
I guess the only thing here would be, and we could throw us the chat as well, put their ideas in there. We could finish on our own thoughts, but the team as constructed right now, is there a move that you think should happen / could happen at this point? Even though for me, at least, I think that this team is pretty much set. I think this is what they want to go, into the season with, into spring training with, and then reassess if something needs to happen. Similar to what I said before about if Beatty's not looking that good in left, then attack left field a different way potentially. But like, I think that this is what they're going into the season with. So I don't think anything else is coming, even though I still think a Mark Vientos trade makes sense, but I don't know if it's actually going to happen. So I guess I'll throw to the chat. I'll throw to you, John. Do you see anything else happening? Do you see something as a fit? Is there a deal that you can think of that makes sense? Because I think Will Salmon put it best. Something could still happen. But in terms of large scale, what we've been seeing like the past week, where you get a Bo Bichette signing, a Luis Robert trade, a Freddy Peralta trade, prospects going, people from the Major League roster, like, you're not going to get something like that. But do you see something happening that might be the cherry on top, icing of the cake, if you will, for the roster for the 26 in general?
Also, just sorry, we didn't mention Craig Kimbrell is now a Met on a minor league deal.
I think he's wearing a Tom Glavine shirt. I don't trust him. He's a Braves agent. I don't trust him.
Yeah. But thank you, Gab, for bringing it up, because I honestly forgot about it. Maybe I could see a situation where he is playing a role on this team at some point.
I wouldn't be shocked.
He was pretty effective, even throwing 92, 93 with his fastball. He still spins the curveball. If he is playing a major role on this team, that is a major problem for this team.
Yeah, something wrong
I could
happened.
see him being in the bullpen for some chunk of time with this team. Joshua Likes Graham Cracker says trade for more relief pitching, because why not? Armand says sign Michael Kopech for the bullpen. I think both of those would be things I would be on board with. I've been banging the Kopech drum for a while. And if you're not going to sign him, then perhaps Joshua's right. Trade for him. Carson, along those lines, and to what you said trades Vientos for
That's
Estrada.
the one that sticks out to me. That's the one that's always in my mind when someone says, can you think of something? It's like Vientos to San Diego makes a lot of sense to me, from the stuff that they need. Young hitter, control, cheap. They have a lot of bullpen. Like, that's the one that kind of makes sense to me, and that's the only one that makes sense. But if it's not that, then that's why I struggle, where it's like, I don't know where anything else is happening.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could get more Hone instead, but you are
Which
giving
one's
up,
on the 1 year? Is it Estrada or
no,
Morahone's on the 1 year?
Morahone is on one year left. Estrada
1
has,
year
I
left.
think, 2 or 3 years of control left. So you would be
Okay, so
getting
you got to
the-
attach something to that too. Yeah.
the Vientos Estrada thing makes more sense straight up from a control perspective, but Estrada
Right.
has more value than Vientos, so you'd probably have to add something in there.
Gotta get something else, yeah, like a sweetener.
Master Flip says, I think that Peterson gets traded. I don't think the Mets want to go with a locked-in 6-man. If they want to, Tong can step up, in my opinion.
If there's one thing we've always talked about, though, is we can never have enough pitching, man. You go into spring, you want to have at least 10 guys ready to go because always assume the worst within a season. You always have to. Like, that's the one thing that I am worried about when it comes to just willing to deal pitchers. Like, if we're dealing them, we better be getting something that's really going to help us in either the similar area or like getting better in the bullpen. Because if we lose those starters, man, and we're not going to get that much more in the bullpen, we're going to end up in the same place we always do every single June, and that is with a fried bullpen, and we don't want that.
We do not want that. Jake Brown saying Senga and Vientos for Morahone and Laureano.
That'd be a big one. It's not sexy names, but that would be borderline big, I think. Yeah.
It helps both teams tremendously. I don't know if you're giving San Diego enough. Like, I think it's a fair trade looking at it objectively based on what both teams need. But I think in terms of trade evaluations, doesn't it feel like San Diego is going to want more than that? Because Morahone and Laureano just have more inherent value than Senga and Vientos right now. You know what I mean? When you factor in Senga's upside at his dollar amount and the fact that he's got a couple of years left at that dollar amount, and you factor in Vientos having 4 years of cheap control left, like, I think it's fair. And again, they could use the starter. They could use the bat. The Mets need the relief pitcher. The Mets need the right-handed hitting outfielder. But doesn't San Diego want more just for making this deal because they're giving you what is, at least on paper, the 2 better players?
I think on paper, yes, but I think it's very easy for one to argue that Laureano is he's coming off of his first good overall year in a while, right? Like he was in, where was he? He was in Baltimore to start the year. Baltimore to start, ends up in San Diego, has the strong year. But prior to that, like, Baltimore got him off the scrap heap because he had the whole steroid thing. He was hurt, he was out, and then he comes back. And then one could easily say, like, you're going off of 1 year. You could easily be, on the downswing. But again, it's always about timing. We always talk about timing on here. So when someone decides to deal someone, if the timing's right, you could capitalize. And I would say on paper that those two are better than what they would be receiving. But I also think that the control of someone like a Vientos, just it makes a lot of sense for that park, for that team, for the situation that the overall franchise is in when it comes to needing cheap everyday players, because it does seem like at some point, for as much money as they spend, there's going to be an exodus of talent, because if a sale of that team happens, they're going to be, trying to trim the fat a little bit.
Jake saying something that is unpopular in the chat. Maybe include Reimer.
How dare you?
Now it's too much.
How dare you?
Now it's too much. It's swung the other way. Now you're giving up too much. I think, and I know that I was the one who brought this up as that not being enough, the initial projected trade from Jake. But I think Reimer is a bridge too far. I think you're looking at like I know he's not on the team anymore, Abby, but I think you were looking at like a Luis Angel Acuna kind of inclusion, like a low, like a high floor player, like maybe like, okay, Vientos and Senga and Morabito for Morahone and Laureano.
I could see something like that.
A guy a guy who's probably going to be a 4th outfielder, but Mets have to have him on their 40-man right now, but he's not played a game above AA. There's a roster crunch there. There's a pretty known commodity in terms of his bat to ball and his speed and his defense. To me, that's a little bit more of what they would like, what you'd be willing to include as far as that goes. Odd Villain saying more home would feed families. Mason Miller would end world hunger. Ibby, there is Mike Francesa has been banging this drum that
you listen to Francesa over on Bet Rivers, really?
On Bet Rivers, okay. Tune into the Bet Rivers Network. Okay, it's the Mike Francesa show. Okay, we got the big game coming up. All right,
that's right.
We know that this is
the big game.
Okay, this is the end of the football season as we know it. Okay, look, in 2 weeks. Okay, it's totally different. Okay, it's not football. Okay, you enjoy it if you want to. Okay, but it's not football. Yeah, I am listening. I check in with the Pope every once in a while. I check in and see what's really good with in the world of Mike Francesa recording a radio show after quitting radio from his own house. But whatever, I check in. This is the point. The point is I check in. He has said that he through whatever sauces. Okay, many
sauces.
I got so many sauces, okay? Alfredo sauce, vodka sauce, okay? Marinara sauce, okay?
Marinara.
Okay, marinara, okay? It's a good time of year to have a snowblower, all right? The Mets need a window thrower, okay? They need a window thrower. Anyway, he has said that the people he knows that, like, Stearns is coveting the closer, like an elite closer, because what he's had, whether that was Hader or Diaz or Devin Williams, is the guy who at that time was the best closer in baseball. And I think he's looking at Mason Miller as like, I would love to have this guy on my team with the control and the upside and all of this. Now, he didn't say he was going to get him, but I think there's a lot of like them really wishing and trying that they could. And Mason Miller would end world hunger, to Odd's point here.
I mean, the one thing with that for me, like because acquiring him from the Padres perspective was so wild to me, because I know that people love AJ Preller because he's like this old school GM Pobo where he's just a wheeler and dealer. And he doesn't care. Like, he's just like, I'm going to deal anyone to just get someone. But like trading Leo DeVries, like the way he did, who is the top 5 prospect in the game at the shortstop position for a closer. Like, look, I know we've had these conversations before where it's like, you can look at someone at the time you deal them. Like, if you're a closer away, I get it. Were the Padres a closer away? I don't know if they were, but you know, in terms of like, bringing us back to the Mets perspective, like the Mets traded away, Jared Kelenic to get Edwin Diaz, essentially. I had questions about that though, because I didn't think that team was a closer away. It didn't make sense to trade your number 1 chip for a closer. I know Monday Morning Quarterback, you look at it now, it's like, oh, it's the right move because Edwin Diaz became one of the best closers, if not the best closer in the game. But would the Mets dump out their farm as much as they like, trying to hone in on this big time bullpen, if you will? I don't know if he would, because if he wanted that, he could have just gave the extra year and paid the money to keep Diaz. Now you're going to choose to, I get because he's younger, but you're going to dump out your farm for a closer. I don't know if it makes sense, especially when you have a lot of things up in the air with the overall roster moving forward, because you're choosing to go the short end route, opt out route with a lot of position players. You need to have players ready to go if those players decide to not come back. And if you're going to bank on your development, then you can't just be giving away the AJ Ewings, the Jacob Reimers of the world, because they're going to need to fill in those given spots.
Yeah, I don't think it's likely. I do think it would be fun, but also, again,
totally.
Let's put some respect on Devin Williams and who he is and who he has been.
Yes.
There was a time, and it was not 100 years ago, there was a time where the undisputed 3 best closers in baseball were Josh Hader, Edwin Diaz, and Devin Williams. And, Devin Williams can be that guy again. I know he doesn't have maybe the stuff of Diaz, Miller, or Hader in terms of the plus velocity on the fastball, but that guy still could be damn good. And Ibby, if you told me that of the 3 guys, Hader, Diaz, and Williams, Williams had the best year, I'd believe you. And if you included Mason Miller in that and said that Devin Williams still had the best year as a closer, I would believe you. I think it's possible. So, I just think they might have that guy already. Carson. Oh shit. I forgot we signed Devin Williams. That was during the time where Stearns didn't sign anyone.
Yes.
According to most people. Carson, as Francesa slowly but also aggressively morphs into Rosie O'Donnell.
It's true.
Oh
Besides
my
those
God.
horse teeth that he has, the guy can't even speak anymore.
I'm not Rosie O'Donnell. Okay. I met her one time. Not a fan. All right. No. Not a fan. Okay. I met her at Saratoga. All right. At the track. I got a box. I sit up front. Okay. I like to smell the horses. Okay. And odd villain from before. Kimbrel looks like he does Civil War reenactments, not for the good side. And I love Gab. Gab might have to stay doing this. Just towards the very end of the show, just like a very brief, I've had some wine recap of the entire episode.
Yeah.
All right. So we got skinny jeans, free beers, a new burner, me and Chrissy in the same.
That's pretty much a perfect summed up version of the show today. Yeah. That's
so I think Gab might need to do that. Yes.
Nobody does game. Nobody gives a shit.
I got a feeling John doesn't check in on Joe Beningo. No, I can't. That's a bridge too far for me. I can deal with a little bit of the Francesa, but I can't do
the pain
I can't
is
do
right.
Beningo.
Pain of listening to you.
We got Ruben saying you sound exactly like him. All you need is to spray some Brute on. Oh man. Okay. Ibby. We are at the 2-hour mark. We have to crown a comment. I have mine. I know what the one that made me laugh the hardest. There's a lot of contenders. They're starred, but there's one that did it for me. I don't know if you're in agreement.
I don't have because I think there's so many contenders for the actual comment, but the one consistent is the person. And I think which person's getting it today. And I think that I'm going to allow you to pick the comment because I agree that this person should get it this week.
Hey, listen, Lazy Mary said, time to change my picture. Got to take the crown off. You know what? Lazy had a 4-week stretch in a row.
1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4. Yeah.
4 weeks in a row.
4 weeks in a row.
Crown. So that's nothing to sneeze at, Lazy. I appreciate you being a good sport about it. Even Lazy knows, today it's not your night, kid. It's not your night. It has to go to Odd Villain.
Has to today.
Odd Villain has been on a roll. I am going to pick the comment, and the comment is Eric Chavez is going to coach Team ISIS in the World Baseball Classic because I can't say that without laughing. I've said it 4 or 5 times on the show, and I can't get it out without laughing. It's insane. It's such a stupid, funny thing. It's like when he said Andy Martino was on the Epstein list. I just couldn't get over it for like 90 minutes. We finished doing the show. I was like making dinner and laughing about it. And I was like, well, that's gotta be the fucking one. So Odd, congratulations. Shout out you. Breaking the streak. But
gotta put a crown on your Avi now. You gotta put a crown on your avatar.
Yeah, Lazy Mary did have a streak not unlike the Undertaker at WrestleMania. 4 weeks in a row is good. Even Jake Brown saying, yeah, that's the winner. I just can't. There's some shit it tickles me trying to say it out loud. It just hits me in the chest.
It's too
and
funny.
Just can't get through it. Ibby, this has been a really good show. Really fun.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
I will be back on Friday doing walk-off whiskey. I will put it in a proper rocks glass so that no one can hate on me. And Chrissy, you better be there.
She's gonna drop in. She's gonna say, "What are you drinking?" Show us the cup.
Making sure that I'm drinking in a timely fashion. Okay. Just making sure. Oh man.
Oh, sorry. Profile picture. I'm sorry. PFP.
Avi. Ibby,
sorry.
Showing your age, man.
I'm sorry.
Showing your age. Wow.
Apologies.
And
pic.
Chrissy coming for me, walk off, no whiskey. Wow. I can't believe all the strays I'm catching. I can't.
No, it's okay. There was a time during the chat where it was just like ripping my background because of the brick. There was like a good 10 comments in a row just completely frying me. So it's okay. Don't worry about it. I caught it too today.
I changed my camera angle a little bit in addition to putting up the most recent QBC framed autograph poster behind me. So it's my background doesn't feel as empty. You can even see like a little bit of a little bit of the where is it? It's this way. A little bit of the other frame.
Yes. Over there.
It's a tiny sliver of it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Ibby, this has been a good show. I'll be back for Walk Off Whiskey, much to the chagrin of Chrissy. I promise I will be drinking. But we will be back doing this show next Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. John, this new camera angle has you half the size of Ibby on the feed. I can't win, man. I can't win.
Well, again, my plan is to.
I am a lot shorter than you, Ibby, though. I am smaller than you are. So,
but my plan is to move this desk up and eventually just dress up the background to please everyone else. But I do have some stuff here that I can move to the back. Yes, I have a North Korea themed home. That's what I do.
Ibby has a North Korea themed home. Is so funny. You're like, Ibby's doing his show from a fucking gulag. It looks like Ibby's in jail.
Now you're forcing me. I'm gonna get something done by next week. That's what I'm gonna do. I have to now because I can't keep getting destroyed like I was this week. I can't allow it.
It's nice that they allow you to do this show from solitary confinement. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's so funny, dude. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Anyway, we got to get out of here. This has been an absolute blast.
So much
Chrissy
fun.
saying that the bricks have character, so don't feel so
Thank
bad.
you, Chrissy. I appreciate it.
This has been an absolute blast of a show. Sincerely, super fun. If you missed any of the show, you can watch it on replay on Substack, on Twitter, on YouTube, any of those places. The video will stay up there forever and ever and ever. You can go back and catch up on whatever you may have missed, whether you got here late or you had to leave early or you were lazy Mary and you were somehow trying to watch the show, even though you were stuck on a train for the entirety of the time. And it became very difficult for you to stay in the show the entire time. If you can't do any of that, this will drop later on tonight as an audio show on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and on Spotify. That's where you can find us all of the time. Follow us across social media. I'm at John Saponaro. He's at Poison_Ibby. The show at Til Mets Do Us Part. So you can become a full-fledged participant in the entire Til Mets Do Us Part ecosystem. Like I said, I'm John. That's Ibby. We will see you next week. Peace.